What's up, everybody? This is Damron with Trash Ass Gamers, bringing you another Elder Scrolls Online Veteran Dungeon Guide. This is for Blackheart Haven. Blackheart Haven is found in Bankarai, which is part of the Daggerfall Covenant. Pretty fun dungeon, in my opinion. There's a ton of ads, but a ton of weak ads, so kind of going through it makes you feel like you're pretty strong. But we can skip some of the ads off the beginning by swimming across the water there, but if you need to pick up the quest, you will need to go along the docks to pick that up. But anyway, for these guides, basically I like to keep them complete. I will fast forward through the ads and basically focus on any strategies for the bosses, any tips or any mechanics that you need to know, and I'll also point things out in the dungeon along the way that I think are important. But for the most part, this dungeon is pretty straightforward. We're going to come up to our first boss here, Iron Heel. A lot of people like to pull him into the room in here and just kind of hold him in the corner. It's easier to keep him still and not run around the area outside, but he's not too strong. You'll see he'll do a little AoE around him where he's kind of swinging his mace, but as long as the tank can just hold him in the corner, you really shouldn't have to do or worry about much in the sense of avoiding his attacks. So just keep your DPS on him and keep your burst attacks on him, and your AoE should kind of clean up any of the smaller ads that walk into the room during the fight. So he's not too bad, and there'll be a good chunk of ads after we kill him. So let's take him out and we'll grind our way through this dungeon, and I'll see you guys at the next boss. Yeah, make sure you got all your gear repaired. As you can see, all my weapons were needed some charging. Don't make yourself look like a scrub. Try to make sure all that stuff is done prior to starting the dungeon, and you won't have your weapon break right in the middle of a fight. Alright, so here we are up to our next boss, Ateris. Ateris isn't too bad either. He's a large ogre who gets even larger in the fight. He does do a typical conical scream that he shoots out in front of him, as well as a stomp attack that is basically an AoE that kind of goes around him. Now, neither of those are anything you got to worry about damage-wise, but the stomp will stun you, as well as his forward charge. His forward charge will knock you over, and the stomp will, which I think I get knocked down by coming up. But if you're in that AoE, it will knock you down. It is kind of annoying, but it's not going to do too much damage. And when you're about to kill him, you see he kind of gets enraged, or so you could say, and gets a little larger, but still his damage is just as small. So clean his ass up, and we'll meet you at the next boss. We got a nice bit of ads to roam through here, and then we'll meet up. Alright, so we're coming up on the next boss here. First mate Wave Cutter. Be very careful initiating this fight. I've seen a lot of no death runs get ruined right here. Make sure the tank pulls the boss first. And the tank has the ability to stun him when he does, or she, her one-shot attack. She'll kind of bend over and be ready to launch out a little attack that if it hits you as your DPS, you could very well die from that as a one-shot attack. So keep that in mind. I believe he does shoot it out. He gets one of the shots off in the later part of the fight, so you can see that it does do quite a bit of damage. But other than that, have the tank just kind of hold her still and keep your DPS and your burst damage. She doesn't have that much health, so you'll be able to kill her pretty quickly. Just be right there. You see how she was bent down? The tank can shield bad dash and interrupt that attack, but that particular attack can hit hard, and if you have some of your health missing already, like I said, you could very well get killed by that. I've seen a lot of no deaths runs in right there. So that's the only really tricky part about her. Alright, so moving on to the Roost Mother. She's not too bad either. I actually die in this fight, I believe, which I can't remember the last time I actually died fighting her. But overall, she's not too bad. She will teleport throughout the fight, and she'll shoot flame attacks directly at you, and she does a little conical flame in the direction she's facing. So I kind of got stunned there and stuck in an unlucky situation where she then shot her conical attack at me immediately after. So be careful for that. And then the other attack she does is she basically shoots a lot of flame balls up into the air that will come back down to the ground and create little fire AoEs. Overall though, she's not very strong. You know, just keep up with her as she moves around and keep your DPS up on her. Avoid the AoE flames that come falling down onto the ground, and you should really have no problem. Alright, so boom, 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 moving on, killing these ads, and in the midst we pulled the boss here as well, Hollowheart. Hollowheart is not a boss you really need to worry about. Under 2 million health, it takes a lot of damage, doesn't really have many attacks that are going to do too much damage to you. Tank just kind of hold them, this enemy away facing from everyone else, and everyone else just really focus damaging this wraith-like enemy. Now the attack that he does is he shoots out these three basically spinning ice shard little attacks that move forward. They can do a decent amount of damage, but not enough for you to really worry about it. It's not like you really truly need to be paying attention to that. If you have a healer, you're not going to have any problems worrying about the damage that hits you with. So finish up Hollow, and let's push on. Alright, so we're coming up on the final boss of the dungeon, so you or someone in your group is going to want to read the scroll for hard mode, and we'll get to fighting this boss. A lot of people like to pull this boss to this kind of little alcove area, and a lot of people will do that with the thought that the ads have to traverse more area and it's kind of easier to crowd control the ads. But honestly, he's so weak that you really could fight him, anywhere you want to. It's not really that big of a priority. So Captain Blackheart, he's got about 2.3 million health, and he doesn't really have too many attacks that really you need to concern yourself with. Now he will randomly turn one of you to a skeleton and limit that person's attacks to basically like a light attack for a short period of time. So if that happens to one of your DPS characters, which happens to me right here, well, your DPS is going to be a little lower for a short period of time. Now he does do an AoE, and that's just a small AoE around his body. That again is, you can step back off of it if you're worried about the damage that it does. But if you have a healer with you, you really, honestly, you don't even need to worry about it. It doesn't do that much damage. And his little light attacks and heavy attacks should be focused on your tanks, so you don't really need to worry about that either. In my honest opinion, he's probably one of the easiest final bosses in the entire game. So that's the entire strategy for him. So just beat his ass, and we'll talk about the monster set at the end. Alright, so the monster set that comes out of this dungeon is the Pirate Skeleton set. Um, Basically, the first part of it's going to give you more resistance. This is a tank type monster set. And then the second part is when you take damage to your health, you have an 8% to transform into a skeleton and gain major protection and minor defile for 12 seconds, which reduces your damage taken but also reduces your healing received. So people don't typically use it that much for the negative effect. Anyway, if this helped you guys, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.